I finished the second episode of Tribe 9, acknowledging that this was a show made for kids and still hoping that the futuristic baseball would shine through and make this show an enjoyable experience. The first few minutes of episode 3 didn't really do that for me. Both our king and our mercenary that we met at the end of episode 2 show to be very evil without much motivation towards their evilness, and Shun remains cocky without any threat that he can be beaten. These are all of my least favorite tropes about shonen battle anime without any of the baseball to make it go down easier. But thankfully this episode gets into the baseball action quickly, and it starts off with this kind of funny bit about how our mercenary pitcher requires 3 catchers to support his insanely fast pitches, and about how each pitch requires a blood sacrifice in order for it to successfully cross the plate. Just another example of don't take anything about this show too seriously. And as it turns out, our minions to our mercenary don't do anything but support our mercenary. Quite literally, they don't swing when they're up to bat. They only field for our mercenary by catching his pitches. And really, they're just there to fill out roster spots for what is essentially a one-person team. And yeah, this is like the typical bad guy posturing thing, but I also think that this is commentary on baseball as a sport, especially Japanese baseball in particular. People like to believe that baseball is a team sport, and it is in some respect, but really it's a sport about aggregating individual performances. A lot of stories about baseball, especially those produced in anime, are about the superior talents of an individual. If you are the pitcher and strike out every batter that you face and also score a run in at least one of your plate appearances, then you can theoretically win a baseball game by yourself. You can't really say that about basketball or soccer or hockey. Baseball's really the only big team sport that's like this. And I think in a worse show, we would have this dynamic between a team that is entirely supported by one person and a team that uses teamwork to overcome their challenges. But Tribe 9 doesn't do that. What Tribe 9 does a good job in showing is that although the Mercenaries team is quite literally a one-person team, Minato Tribe is also kind of a one-person team too, with the extremely talented Shun being surrounded by average players and novices. But the question about their matchup is not a Shun versus Mercenary type of approach, but whether Minato Tribe as a group can overcome the superior talents of the Mercenary. And when the game goes on, the show does a really good job in demonstrating how evenly matched these teams are. No one can hit the Mercenary with their first ups, and when the Mercenary comes to bat, Minato Tribe demonstrates teamwork in order to get him out on the base paths. And since he's the only one in the lineup that's going to swing the bat at all, getting the Mercenary out is really critical for providing a few innings of oxygen for our heroes. Our final battle of the episode takes place in the bottom of the 4th inning of a scoreless game where our bottom of the 4th inning? Top of the 4th inning, yeah. It should be... The away team should get first ups. One thing I would like to point out is that this seems to be a home game for Minato Tribe, and yet they are the ones that are batting first. That goes against conventional baseball rules. I don't know what the rules are in extreme baseball, but it doesn't really get explained. Anyway, our final battle of the episode takes place in the bottom of the 4th inning in a scoreless game where our mercenary launches a ball to right center field, right center city, I don't really know how to call this. And our heroes work to intercept him between second base and third base. Second base being its version of Tokyo Tower, and third base being this anti-gravity building of some sort. The cyberpunk aspect of the show is way too complicated for me to explain. But anyway, Shun and the mercenary fight. The mercenary ends up winning and beating Shun down, but the other members of Minato Tribe work to try to get him out at the plate. Haru finds the ball, sends a relay throw to Saori at home plate, but Shun intercepts it right before Saori can try to block our mercenary at the plate. They face one last time, and it goes poorly for Shun as the mercenary essentially beats him to a pulp and Minato Tribe forfeits the game. The mercenary, as our victor, then orders Minato Tribe to disband. I don't really know the implications of this going forward. It seems as if our heroes can't play as a team anymore. I'm curious to see how this gets retconned, because I'm pretty sure it will be. Shun gets rushed to the hospital. There's a bit of a moment of trepidation for Minato Tribe, but he turns out to be recovered and in good spirits pretty soon. The best part of this episode is when Haru reveals to Shun that he saw him tag out the mercenary before he touched home plate. The mercenary didn't say anything because he won the game. Shun didn't say anything because he was knocked out, and Haru didn't say anything presumably because he was too scared to make a fuss. But all three of them realize what actually happened, and we actually get a couple of shots of the mercenary feeling a bit conflicted about the result of the game. I think this has the potential of making him a more complex and worthwhile antagonist, and I'm curious to see how this develops in subsequent episodes. I'm also curious to see what made Shun so sad at the end of this episode. I suspect there are some sort of medical complications when it comes to Shun, as some of his friends expressed concern about his health, but honestly, I'm kind of in the dark about this. Whatever the cause may be, I'm a lot more excited about this show, and I'm back on board with Tribe 9. Before heading into this season, I couldn't exactly tell you what I would have wanted out of my future baseball show, but this is kind of scratching the itch. I'm not going to call Tribe 9 groundbreaking or even thought-provoking, and I think there's a pretty good chance that I finish this show in March and never think about it again. But I'm having a good time watching it, which is more than I can say about any other show released this season.